So how did you and Dan, you've known, talk about you and Dan. And by the way, that's such a cool story because I'm like, hey, bro, like, how did you come up with Hammer and Hampel? You're like, I'm like, his name is Dan Nelson.
Yeah, it's his last name technically. So so I've known Dan since we were kids, really middle school, high school. We played football together.
You did play football.
Yeah.
Where'd you play? What position did you play?
I was a wide receiver.
Of course you were. Say cornerback or wide receiver.
Yeah, I was a wide receiver. But so I was a year older than him, but we had different friend groups because of the year gap. But we played football together, and we were had a lot of mutual friends. And as I started getting into real estate, he stepped into real estate right away at a very young age, and I was following him, and he would post on social media the status of his projects, and I reconnected with him back in probably 2016 or so, and we just started keeping in touch. Like we were.
Okay, so you guys reconnected back in 2016.
Yeah, so like we weren't like we knew each other and we were friends in high school, but we were not like we had different friend groups like.
So he wasn't your best friend?
No,
in
not
high
at
school.
all. Not at all.
We
got close as adults through real estate.
Oh,
yeah. So it was 2016 where he had been syndicating with a large group out of Minneapolis. These guys have about 4,000 units.
Sweet.
Across Texas, Nashville, Kansas City, and these guys are studs. Dan became the garbage disposal for them, essentially. Like, hey, I'll work for free. I just want to learn the business. I'll do anything and everything.
I love Dan.
And so Dan,
haven't met him, but I love him. He worked for free, huh?
He worked for free, and he had a full-time job, and he was like making good money, but like he wanted to learn this side of the business. And
so good.
In order to do so, he found a group who was willing to let him see behind the GP curtain for free in trade for some free labor. And Dan did everything from building the website, investor relations, helping build performance pitch decks, providing info for like whatever it was, he did it all for them, right? And he had, at that point when we reconnected, he had been with them for a couple years, and then it reached that point. Well, Dan's like, well, hey, like I've been doing this for a while. I really appreciate the opportunity. Will you guys bring me on like formally as a general partner? And back then, those guys were still growing, so they said thanks, no thanks, which is fine, right? They agreed, the value he had provided, and now it's understandable that he wanted more because of all the time, blood, sweat, and tears he put into it. At that same time, I was going through the beginning of my real estate journey. We reconnected around the same time, and very complementary skill sets. I know him, I know his family, I know, the integrity, hard work. Like I know he checks those boxes. And then, most importantly, and oftentimes overlooked, is just goals, like overall long-term goals. And we both had like very high standards, very high goals. We hold ourselves to, equally high standards for all that. And then we decided to jump in together after a few years of just like keeping in touch in 2020. And now we're approaching, 1,000 units between stuff we've been a lead or co-GP on, and now we're in the development game.
You guys are at 1,000 doors?
300 as a lead, and just under 700 as a partner, as a co-GP. Yeah.
In 3 years.
Just under 4 years.
You should really step up your, when are you going to actually start getting some results? If you enjoyed what you saw, like, share, comment, and forward to someone that this will bring value to. Thank you so much for all the support. We appreciate it.